Hey, what's up? This is Tony,
And this is Rico.
and this is Relatively Sound, the podcast I walked in with an alligator sister. Pretty Penny was her name. Now, today, I get the pleasure Rico gets the pleasure of listening to an album that is my pick, and I'm actually letting him choose between two albums from this band. Prior to this recording, I went ahead and I played myself, three riffs from each album, and I let him pick which one he wanted to hear. But I'm going to give him one chance to change his mind. I will now reveal these albums. These are from Stone Temple Pilots. I gave him two choices. Album A, which he preferred. The riffs from is number 4, my all-black copy here. And then the other option was Purple. So, Rico, would you like to stay locked in with number 4
Well,
as being your album for today?
first I'd like to say that when you off camera played me the guitar riffs for the album A, I swear I recognize at least one of them. And I do know one song on number 4. I don't know if that's the song I recognize the riff from.
I did not play Sour Girl, don't worry.
Okay, but I recognize the guitar riff, which is why I narrowed it down to this has to either be an SDP album or Elliott, but of course it didn't sound like an Elliott riff because it was like a...
Yo, Elliot's just dropping all these mad drop D riffs at you.
So I knew it had to be SDP. And then when you played riffs from album B, I didn't recognize them, but I feel like I've heard enough STP now where I can kind of like hear guitar riff and know like this sounds like something STP would do. So, but the reason I picked A initially was because I feel like I just liked those riffs you played better than the riffs you played from album B because they were just a little bit more melodic. And even like the third riff you played from album A where it was a little bit more rock, it just had, I don't know, it felt more fun to me than the harder riffs you played from album B. So I'm gonna stick with my gut, and I'm gonna stick with album A, which you said was
Number 4.
STP's album titled number 4.
Their 1999 release.
I'm very excited to do this episode because Tony and I were just talking how, since we've started doing these specific reaction videos on YouTube where we listen to the album together and we get to hear the other person's first reaction to the album, we've got to do now 2 hip albums, but we have yet to do an STP album together like this. The last STP album we talked about was Tiny Music, which so far is my favorite STP albums out of the 2 I've heard. And I love that album. And Tony didn't get to share that experience with me listening to it for the first time. But now that we're doing these episodes these ways, he's going to have a chance to watch me listen to the album for the first time together. So.
I will say this right off the bat. This album, I also wished production was a little bit different. I think just by the time like you got to the end of it, it's a little bit compressed.
All right, well, yeah, let's head on over and let me give this album a first listen.
All right, Rico. Song number 1, Down. And I believe this was a single on the album. I believe this and Sour Girl were.
Okay, way crunchier than anything I feel like on Tiny Music. Okay, this kind of does remind me a little bit of Shing La Di Da, like the opening track. Okay, clean vocals. I was expecting like his megaphone shit. Like that. Like that. I will say I preferred his other melody more. I like this part more. I like his more subdued singing. Although he kind of sounds a little... He's like unhinged. The music reminds me a little bit of like Soundgarden.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I like the ride. I will say this song is more catchy than Dumb Love. Guitar solo. Yeah, I never usually have an issue with their guitar solos.
Yo, he rips, man.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. It's when the song first started, it definitely reminded me of is it Dumb Love, right? The
Dumb
opening
Love is
from
the opening
yeah,
of
from
Shangri-La.
yeah, it reminded me of that. But by the time the song ended, I felt like it actually reminded, like maybe it was the production or maybe it's just like the riff itself, kind of reminded me more of like the few songs I know from their first two albums. Like it sounded more early '90s grunge than it sounded like 2000s grunge. Because Shangri La Da is like in the 2000s, right?
Right.
Um, of course, I tend to enjoy the a little bit more melodic STP, and I know we're gonna get some of that on this album. I mean, I've heard Sour Girl, and that to me is more on the melodic side. Um, but I think the song for the most part was catchier than something like Dumb Love. If you recall, that wasn't my favorite from the album, and to this day, it's still not my favorite. I'm
Probably
much
bottom three on that album.
not bottom three because I still
Regeneration, Long Way Home.
Long Way Home for sure is down there. Coma's probably down there.
Even though that's like the best solo on the album.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely not top five. It's definitely bottom five. But this one I thought was catchier. My only like complaint was I feel like the chorus that I've been waiting for my Sunday girl, kind of was repeated a little bit on the excessive side. But I mean, it was an under 4 minute song. Because for the most part, what it was just like a grungy, rock, heavy, distorted song. I find like when it comes to the rock songs, I like maybe the more up tempo stuff, like faster, like Trippin',
Yeah,
where it's a lot more energetic.
So you're saying this is more of a mid-tempo rock track?
Yeah, but it was heavier than maybe some of the stuff on Shangri-La, so I like that, what I had going for it. Plus, the verses, I did really enjoy the more melodic singing. Like I kind of said, oh, I like how clean his vocals sound, and then like right after he does the yelling, which I don't think he was using his megaphone for it, but it definitely sounded like they added distortion on his vocal track, which is not a bad thing. It's just I don't prefer that for any singer, not just Scott, but for any singer.
If Gore did it, you would cream though.
No, because there's a couple songs where he does it, and I don't love it.
All right, well, without further ado, let's go to track 2, Heaven and Hot Rods.
Okay, so yeah, this is giving me like the what's the other single from Tiny Music? Not Trippin', what's the other one? Big Bang.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This
okay,
is kind of
yeah.
This is what it's reminding me of.
Fun chromatic riff, yeah.
Yeah, rock, but it's more up tempo than the previous song. I like this part more because it's a little more melodic. Interesting lyric. The dogs came in just to see her smile. I'm liking this. This is kind of a song they could do in their sleep, but that's not a bad thing. Yeah, the drumming is, I think, more impressive on the song than the guitar playing so far. Another solo. I can't decide if this song has some type of lyrical narrative or if it's just fun phrases. Okay, I finally hear bass. That was going to be my complaint so far, was I don't hear a lot of bass.
Yeah, shout out to Brendan O'Brien for that one.
Okay. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be like a, is it Big Bang Baby?
Yes.
It's going to be
It's a crash.
I used to be so much better with song titles, and like as I'm getting older, I'm just not as good with song titles or lyrics. But it's gonna be a song. This song is gonna be more like that song to me, where it's like it's a fun rock song. You either put it on the playlist when you want to, a bunch of other upbeat, just fun rockers, or you listen to it on the album and you're like, oh, this is a nice break in between, hopefully other textures and sounds on the album. And it makes sense with looking back at the other two albums I know from STP. The second song on Shangri-La Da is Days of the Week.
Yeah.
Which is another upbeat. That one I just much prefer because they really lean into the pop, and it's even catchier than this song. But I did like the song probably more than Down because it was just more fun, more upbeat. Like I said before in Down, in that reaction, I like the more up-tempo songs, the faster songs.
Down's a little sludgier, a little meaner. This is a little
Yeah,
more up-tempo, more fun.
that's more grunge. And even though one of my favorite bands is Pearl Jam, I don't tend to lean towards the grunge heavy Pearl Jam songs as much as the more standard rockers or more out there songs.
You'll take Life Wasted over Even Flow.
Yes, I'll take Worldwide Suicide over Once. Yeah.
You've just been shot by a million fans all at once.
My favorite part was probably the bridge because it kind of had like a cool psychedelic kind of moment. And then that's when I heard the bass, which anytime you can hear, what's his name? I'm also terrible.
Robert DeLeo, man.
Anytime you hear his bass playing, it's fantastic. The problem with these 3 records so far is that the production is not like as, like a 70s produced album where you can really hear every instrument perfectly. So that was probably my favorite section. And I do really like actually the lyric and the dogs came in just to see her smile. So I'd say that lyrical part and then the bridge for the music itself.
All right. Well, let's keep moving then. Track 3, Pruno.
The drums are like really heavy. A similar feel, but they made it less heavy. Which I find they do sometimes in some of their songs. I'm still perplexed by the word pruno.
Well, we'll get to that later.
Okay, I like the cleaner vocals. Cool guitar tones, a little tremolo.
Yeah, tremolo.
Oh, little acoustic or really clean guitar. This is my favorite part so far compared to the...
So just like the main verse.
Yeah. I do like the rhythm of this section though. Especially when he sings that I got another hit line. He says it really fast, kind of.
Yeah, which we're now doing in the right ear. It's like a call and answer, which is cool.
What is that weird sound I'm hearing in the back? Is it a key? Yeah, I like this a lot better. The layers of backing vocals, the guitars.
Yeah, the harmonics.
Okay, another kind of short, to-the-point song, which is nothing wrong with that. That's the most interesting song so far. I mean, I think you would agree with me. I mean, the opening track was the sludgier, grungier rock song. Second track was... That one to me actually sounded more like a single than Down did. Just because it was the faster, fun rocker. Where this one is kind of a mixture between the... Not really a mixture between the both, but it's a mixture of sounds. It started off like a song, like almost like Coma, especially, actually, I think that way too in the chorus of Pruno. It has that guitar riff where 2 years ago, before I heard really any STP album in its entirety, if you would have played me the chorus of Pruno, I probably would have been a little annoyed and said, oh, that guitar riff is just a little annoying. Now that I've heard a good amount more STP, and that doesn't really throw me for a loop too much. That said, it was catchy, but I actually preferred the verses and the bridge, which I think maybe technically less catchy, but I just felt like there's more dynamics. I mean, especially in the bridge when you have like the hits of the clean guitars, you have the harmonies and the other backing vocals coming in. I just felt like there was a lot more textures that I appreciated. I will say so far between all 3 songs, I feel like the only thing I'm a little disappointed with so far is these songs seem like they have less, at least just from a first listen and a read through, less weight to them lyrically than Tiny Music. But you said you would eventually get to what Pruno means. So I'm hoping you can give me a little backstory to that.
Well, we'll talk about lyrics a little more later on, maybe as a whole. But so Pruno is also known as prison hooch or prison wine. So basically, I'm just kind of reading off Wikipedia here. An improvised alcoholic beverage. So it's making alcohol in like prison.
I think that one will stick with me more on the first listen. I actually think more so than Heaven and Hot Rods.
Like by the end of the album, you might remember this one more
because the chorus was catchier and I like the melodic bits even more.
All right, we're on track 4 out of 11. Church on Tuesday.
Nice. Okay, we're in the sweet spot of STP for me.
Nice.
This has more of like a... Not this part. The verse had more of like a interstate kind of sound. Guitar riff's a little like twangy. Okay, so was that actually a pre-chorus and this is the chorus? Or is this a bridge?
I would say this is the chorus here. You nailed it.
I wonder if this was like autobiographical, like his mom always went to church on Tuesdays. I will say, actually, I think I like this pre-chorus a little bit more than the actual chorus. I think I like the melodies more, like the vocal melody. Although I do like his good bass, Bill. I do like how he ends the vocal with a little run up. Okay, some like kind of Beatles backing vocals panning left to right.
Yeah, it is kind of Beatles-y. I never thought about it like that.
Music's kind of building. Like I feel like guitars are like doubling out. They're a little chunkier. Ooh, fade. So that song was kind of one where I really loved it off the very beginning because I love that kind of twingy guitar riff. I think my biggest complaint is that I wish the verses were longer because the verses aren't that long because then it goes to like the pre-chorus, which on a first listen you probably think like I did that's the chorus.
But the verses are kind of the best part.
That's what I'm saying. Like I wish they were longer because I love the twinging guitar. Like I said, it kind of reminded me of Interstate a little bit, which is, even though I've not heard that full album, that song is one of my favorite STP songs, which I know is like very typical. Like
it's one of my favorites too. It's such a damn good one, dude.
And then, you know, when you get the actual chorus, you're like, oh, the pre-chorus was actually not the chorus, it's the pre-chorus. And on the first 2 times through, I liked the chorus, but I wasn't in love with it. But it's kind of what happens, I feel like, with you with a lot of songs. By the time they come back to it a third time, especially because the third time is like the whole outro of the song, it finally started to click with me more, and it was kind of starting to embed itself in my brain a little bit more, and was just more catchy. And I felt like, you know, drumming was a little bit more solid. You know, the ride was really sticking around this time. The guitar started a little bit more bigger, and then you had the backing vocals that I had mentioned. So, so by the end of it, I feel like I actually was appreciating the chorus way more. So I overall really like that song. That actually might be. I mean, it's hard to do on a first listen, but
Don't say it.
My favorite.
Wow. Okay.
Can I not? Is that a bad opinion to have?
Well, I don't think it's a bad opinion, but it's kind of it's unpopular for this to be your favorite. I imagine
out of the
on a
first
listen.
Because so far, actually, I think every song's gotten better. If I'm being honest, I think my least favorite is still down.
Wow.
I think I like.
Bruno would be your least favorite.
No, that one was catchy.
Well, why don't we go ahead and take it down a notch? Go to a track that you know and you should love because it's one of their best. Track 5, Sour Girl.
Being honest here, I have heard the song multiple times. This is like one of the STP songs I always hear on the radio.
I swear to God, I've never heard this shit on the radio.
Whenever I listen to the radio, which is not often, but this is my second favorite part actually. Because like on this song, it's almost like the bass is a little too loud. Especially because he's just playing like what is it, like eighth notes?
Yeah, he's doing kind of like that like muted, it's kind of like reggae type thing, you know?
This is my favorite part. This like melody is like some monkey shit or something. It sounds like so old school. Like in a good way. Like it really doesn't sound like STP to me.
Like it made you a believer. That type of good way.
God. I kind of like the pause he does when he does that.
Yeah, the different inflection.
What are you looking at? That guitar on pan to the left is very tasty. It only came in during the second chorus.
Right.
Now you have this other guitar that sounds even bigger.
Kind of a cool way to do a bridge. Take the little intro motif and then just kind of like put some space and add vocals. Cool
and
idea.
I do like the intro even more the second time around.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's
now he's cooking.
All right. So, Sour Girl.
I mean,
banger song.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of I I don't want this. I don't want to put these expectations on this album, but so far, technically, every song has been better than the previous song, which might mean this album might be one of those albums where I feel like it's actually backloaded. But obviously, I don't know that yet because from here on out, I don't think I will know any songs. I might recognize a riff or two just because you probably played them before when we were younger. But I mean, yeah, I said pretty much everything I wanted to say in the reaction. I'm actually keep a lot of the reaction in because, I mean, this was not a first reaction for me. I know Sour Girl. I do think it actually is one of their best songs. I mean, they have a lot of really good slower kind of. I wouldn't call this a ballad, but for them,
I get you though. Yeah.
It's like the closest. I mean, I kind of put this one similar to like. Wow, I'm losing. And so I know.
Really? No way.
And like a song for sleeping.
Wow. I mean, I can see that one
because
Very
it's
acoustic.
not as powerful or dramatic as Adhesive or
Black
Hello,
Again.
It's Late or Black Again. So, but this song is fantastic. I think just to me, the melodies of the vocals, the chorus is powerful just in a different way than Adhesive. It's like, it's like soothing, right? Adhesive is very raw and emotional, where this song is soothing.
Okay, so track 6 is the end of side 1. It is No Way Out, the only explicit song on this record, according to Spotify.
Okay, so this is gonna be like the most experimental song on the album.
Wow, bold statement.
Very interesting background percussion. Okay, a little bit more like down though. I don't think that was out of pocket.
Not out of pocket at all.
The bass is doing that really low bass thing again in the other song I noticed. I don't love the bass tone on this song so far.
No, okay.
This will remind me a little bit of Shangri-La Da.
Yeah, to me, this is more kind of the dumb love of the album, just slower.
Yeah. This reminds me a little of Coma too. I much prefer this part. You're like, oh shit, well they only do that part 2 times, so you're fucked. Because this part sounds mysterious, like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna get. And then when they go into the verse and chorus, it's pretty, like, straightforward. I do kind of like the rhythm of the song. Kind of stop-go. Oh, they tricked me out. I thought they were gonna go back into it.
And that time, at the motherfucker part, they kept this, melodic riff over it.
This part also reminds me of something that I feel like I would have heard on the Velvet Revolver album. Okay, I hear it. They're doing that intro part again now.
Hey, you wanted it more.
I do, but it's buried. Come on, you cannot say it's buried.
So in your eyes, this is down but fading out. Down with the fade out.
No, I mean I take it back now because this song definitely is like, a song with 2 sides. It's got the kind of experimental, moody, mysterious intro, and then it's just got like the rock part. I'm definitely the most torn on this song. I think I want to like it more than I probably do. I do think there's elements that is more interesting than something like Down. Or even more than maybe the track number 2 on the album. But I don't know. I didn't love everything in the song. I do feel like it kind of was in the camp of some of the songs on the next album, like a Coma or like a Dumb Love. And it's also one of those songs where it's really heavy. And I feel like lyrically too, he's definitely singing about, I mean, I have to assume a lot of this is about his drug use or just, his mental health at the time, his state of mind. And this is not a song where I feel like he's being vulnerable in the sense of Adhesive, where like he puts his way of feeling into very unique metaphors and imageries. Where in this song, he's like, No Way Out. It's such a straightforward, like, here's how I'm feeling. I'm just going to tell you how dark and how deep into the shit that I am, which I can appreciate it for that. But it's one of those type of songs where I don't enjoy it as much. I understand he sings about the subject a lot, but I rather hear it in more like an Ahisa type way, if that makes sense.
Side 2, track 7, Sex and Violence.
Very quick intro, like right into it. Oh, faster than I was expecting it to be.
You wanted up tempo.
Very conflicted. Don't know if I love like these bells or whatever is going on sonically. What is this? Is this the chorus or is this a post-chorus? The structure is very interesting. Are they doing it again but in a different key? I'm a little confused right now. I'm a little lost. So I didn't love the section when I first started, the first time. I like it more now.
Now it's the best part of the song?
No, because I don't like the bells. Are they bells? What are they? I don't know what to think of that song. I'm actually not going to say much about the song on a first listen because I feel like so far out of all the songs, this is the one that I'm going to need a second or third listen to before I can judge it. Because honestly, if I was to judge it now, this actually might be my least favorite, only because it was so chaotic. Which a song being chaotic on its own does not automatically make it a bad song to me. But man, it was all over the place. I mean, the intro was kind of just like, it was one of those SCP guitar riffs where it's just kind of like, but then when the song kicks in, the song's tempo is actually faster than that intro. And he's doing his fast singing, which I actually like. The lyrics were pretty, I didn't love him at first because he sounded like he was just being mean. He was calling someone a little bitch, even though he cared about them. And then you get like what I'm calling, I guess, the pre-chorus with like the bells and like the kind of descending guitar lines that I like kind of liked and disliked at the same time. So it was really conflicted. And then like what I'm calling the chorus, it's like was repeated twice. And on the second time, it was like a riff, but like in a different key. I know I'm probably getting that wrong because my music theory is very poor. So there was just a lot to take in. And even though they kind of just repeated all that again, like the second time through, and because like you mentioned, this song was like one of the shorter songs on the album, it was still a lot to take in. I don't know how I feel about this song. Even lyrically, I had a hard time kind of grasping, I mean, I guess the title of the track, Sex and Violence. Well, I mean, when I hear that, I think of the stupid Family Guy theme song. But it is kind of a chaotic, I feel like, song title, and the song is kind of chaotic. So, yeah, definitely my most conflicted. There's no way there's going to be another song on the album where I'm more conflicted on it. At least I hope not.
All right, track 8, Glide.
It's not going to be a smooth song, but Oh, they tricked me out. I thought it was going to be a faster song. The reverse of the previous track.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
This is a little bit more like Lady Picture Show now. Ooh, a little... Why does this remind me a little bit of Brad? The vocal melody. I hear a little Sean Smith in this. He lost me a little bit when he went that extra pitch up.
The extra mile.
Yeah, this is like a mix between like Lady Picture Show and Seven Cage Tiger.
Wow, it's interesting.
And a hint of the closing track talk show, the Through the Fields or whatever that one was called.
Fill the Field.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're kind of losing me.
Well, that guitar bit's losing me a little bit. Like a weird siren pan to the left. This also sounds like a key change. But I like it. Because it went lower, I feel like, instead of higher.
Yeah, it took it down a notch.
Go away, guitar. I don't need you. So far, you're the only annoying part about the song. That was trippy. I almost thought that was his vocals for a second. Like with the megaphone. Okay, so no fade this time. This time they're like, we're going to do a completely different sounding outro. So I have a lot of comments. My first being that actually, mainly because I don't think I just looked at the time at all while the song was running, which is a good thing, which is why I try not to do that. I did not think this was going to be one of the 5-minute songs. So it didn't feel 5 minutes, which is a good thing.
That's a really good sign.
The song wavered a little bit as it went through, as of my enjoyment of it. When it first started, I'm like, I really like this. Like, I liked the chord progression. I felt like it's one of those STP songs where it's like, it's kind of a little bittersweet sounding. Like, it has a bit of like optimism, but then maybe it's the way Scott's singing it. It also sounds a little sad, a little melancholy. Other than when he went really, really high pitched in the falsetto, I did enjoy the falsetto, and I did enjoy his vocals overall. There was some things they kind of did throughout the song that it was kind of hit or miss for me. The violin guitar riff that kind of came in a couple times, not my favorite. The kind of different modulations that kind of happen throughout. I will say this is also another song, like the previous track, where I'll need to listen to it a good couple more times to really get the hang of the composition of it, because there was like the bridge, but then there was also like the post-chorus where they kind of went down, which was interesting because usually I feel like with modulations, bands usually go higher. Yeah, there was a lot to take in. There was a lot of things. I think there was more things I liked than disliked about it.
Good.
It didn't end up being like on a first listen a 9 out of 10 song like it started off as. So that was my only little kind of disappointing thing. But I will say, for people who are like, why is he nitpicking so much? A lot of these things might be solved with a second or third listen.
All right. Track 9. I Got You.
I feel like a lot of these songs have had like really short intros. Okay, this is kind of exactly what I was picturing.
Yeah, like a little country sounding song, right?
Well, I wasn't thinking it was going to sound as country, but like an up-tempo, softer song. So far, I like the first lyrics, so I feel like I fully understand them. Like, I know what he's talking about when he says spoon. Is that guitar and piano or just guitar?
I think it's both.
I mean, because you call it country earlier, but it's kind of country.
A little western, probably.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more torn on this song than I think you think I would be. Okay, but I'm liking this bridge so far. The guitars, because they sound Glenn Campbell-ish, they also kind of remind me of some of the guitar work on REM's album Reveal. Okay, they went back to the bridge. Good. I mean, this is probably it's technically a post-chorus now, but I like that guitar because it sounds a little bit more unique than the Western licks. For some of the song, it feels like what's the drummer's name?
Eric?
Some of it sounds like he was playing with like brushes, and then some of it sounds like he's not.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, so I know in the middle I said I was more torn about it than I thought you were gonna think that I would be. It was a terrible word.
Then he heard the Pete Buckley solo.
Pete Buckley.
Peter Buckley. Peter Buck. Pete Buck. Please help me.
I'm not. You're too far from saving.
All right. Well,
anyway,
I'm gonna go Google who it is while you're doing that.
Anyway, I think this song was a really good song. When it started off, I liked the vibe because, you know, it was less into the grunge rock territory where it was more in the vibe of the STP, softer, melodic stuff that I enjoy. But then I was a little bit like, this is a little too toned back. It's a little too simple. Like, there's a lot of layering, but like I don't know, it sounded like something I would play from a band like REM or like Jason Isbell, and you would say like, oh, this is good, but it doesn't hit as hard for me as other songs from other bands. Um, but then I don't know. It lyrically, I like the song because it kind of reminds me of something that you would get off an early Wilco album, where because Jeff Tweedy, Wilco's lead singer, he also had his own drug issues, and Wilco's first couple albums are definitely more on that country folk side. And so far, this is the most I feel like kind of Western country folk that I've heard from STP, other than like Interstate maybe with some of the twangy stuff. So lyrically, I am maybe a tad vocally, although mostly lyrically. This kind of reminded me of a Wilco song. But then like I mentioned, some of it reminded me of like Glenn Campbell, which then makes me think of REM's album Reveal, where Peter Buck, which that is his name, does a little guitar playing that's like Glenn Campbell, where it's a little Western sounding. And the song, like you said, does have a lot of layers. I had the really cool low guitar solo. I like the little guitar / piano breaks throughout. And then I really like the bridge, and I really like the arpeggios that were played on the guitar during the bridge. So yeah, I feel like maybe I might be wrong on this. You'll have to tell me if you happen to know. I feel like an average STP fan, not an average, but like someone who likes them as much as you, this song might be a little bit forgotten about, maybe a little underrated because it's not as impressive as even some of the other songs on this album. But I actually think this one could be a top song for me.
All right, penultimate track, MC5.
Like the band?
Yeah, I guess so.
So this whole thing is going to launch into like a Jimi Hendrix song or something. He's doing that lower register vocal thing again. Ooh, this kind of reminds me of a STP song. This kind of reminds me of a Soundgarden song. I wonder too, I was comparing this vocal style a little bit to Axl Rose, but I wonder if it should be compared more to like Jim Morrison. Because I do know he loved the Doors.
Now you're putting the dots together.
So see, I really don't know much about MC5, but I feel like with this guitar solo, it would probably sound a little bit like MC5. Okay, change in the progression. But I thought Her Smiles brought the dogs in.
Rock song.
I liked it. It was actually, I think, a little bit easier to digest than some of the faster rock songs on the beginning of the album, like Heaven and Hot Rods, or even Pruno. But I still agree that this song definitely was an easy to digest, fun rock song. Do you happen to know why it's called MC5? Is it like they didn't have a title for it and they named it after what it sounded like? Because I really don't know MC5 besides that Kick Out the Jams.
I don't have an answer for it, but I imagine that's probably what it is. That seems pretty plausible. I will say I'm very excited to say this song and see what you think. When this song starts, it kind of makes me think of Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin. It has like a drum intro that doesn't sound quite like it's in 4/4. It's just kind of like it starts off in a weird place in the measure, and then it gets in. It's just like a very like, oh, this is a classic rock song.
See, I thought it sounded more like the intro to Fire, like the drums.
I mean, yeah, okay, I'll respect that. I mean, that kind of fits the bill too.
I mean, I think I like Jimi Hendrix more than I do Zeppelin, so maybe that's why my mind
agreed.
Went there. You listen. Maybe I should say you listen to more Hendrix, or you listen to both of them more than I do, but you definitely listen to Led Zeppelin more than I do.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, it was like a one where it's like the lyrics are pretty repetitive, but because it's a under 3-minute fun rock song, I didn't care. Like this song might actually be the least dense lyrically song on the album.
Yeah.
But I think it's exactly what it needed to be.
Atlanta, closing track. Let's go.
I thought it was going to be that Sound of Music song for a second. All My Favorite Things, whatever it's called. Okay, I hear you, Robert. Kind of a bunch of different genres. Like kind of old school, a little jazzy almost. Those are all his favorite things. Okay, so it is cinematic. It is dramatic like Adhesive, but not in a sad, like, painful strip back way. Emotional.
Not in a, I'm gonna sit down and try not to cry away. Yeah.
Although if you cried to this, it's emotional in a different type of way.
100%.
Fake out ending. Okay, kind of a different guitar riff than the intro. Slightly different. Variation. It's very clean. Yeah, we're definitely going to build for the last 2 minutes of the song, a minute and a half. Some whistling.
It's like, stay off our records, bro.
Some xylophone action now?
Yeah, some marimbas.
You could have asked me to guess 100 times on how the song would end, and I don't think this would have been one of my guesses. I'm not necessarily surprised because you've been asking me what I would think the next song would sound like for the last half of the album. And like I said, with MC5 being the loose, quick, fun rock song, the last song on this album had to be a more soft-tempoed song, maybe a ballad. And it was. I liked it. I have a feeling this is a lot of fans' favorite from the album, if I had to guess.
So, this was the song I was most excited for a reaction for, but your response is the most disappointing response we've had yet. I am extremely underwhelmed by you right now, okay?
Well,
Please tell me you're just speechless because of how good of a song that was.
I'm speechless in the sense that I think it's a song I have to listen to again to really get it. Was
that the case for Adhesive too?
No, man, Adhesive was, and I know we talked about this earlier.
We've lost him.
With Adhesive, you and I did not do the reaction together, in the sense that when I heard it for the first time, you were not there with me when I heard it.
Our biggest mistake.
And that's a song where I was like speechless, because I was like, wow, I did not think they could put out a song that would move me as much as it did. I mean, like, once you like start loving a band, you get less surprised by that, you know?
Right.
Like, if I hear a song from, The Killers that really moves me, I wouldn't be surprised. But if it's a band that I'm just getting into and I hear a song from them that moves me, it's kind of shocking. This song is very moving. And I like that it did have some somber shades, like especially lyrically, that lyrics is very sad. But the song never sounds super sad, but it also doesn't sound happy, but it kind of builds. It had layers to it, just emotionally, not even talking about musically. Even though musically it did as well. That's just another one I have to listen to. I mean, I know for a fact this song will grow on me more, where I know with Glide and with Sex and Violence, those two are ones that I could love after a second or third listen, or I can not love as much. Where this one, I will be shocked if I don't love it more on the second and third listen.
All right, Rico, it's been several days since I have gifted you with the experience of hearing number 4, and it sounds like you've listened to it a few times since then. Any thoughts? Updates?
Yeah, so I've listened to it like probably at least 4 times. It might have been 5 times.
Okay.
Because it was interesting. It's interesting because I actually went back to and listened to Shangri-La-Di-Da.
Nice. Proud of you.
Because Tiny Music, I feel like I didn't need to listen to it again. Because I think I've listened to that one more than Shangri-La-Di-Da, which
I'm sure.
That one you gave me like, what, last year? Or like even the year before, maybe like...
What, Shangri?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tiny
that might
Music,
have been 2 years
yeah,
ago,
Tiny
maybe.
Music was the one you've given me most recent when it comes to STP,
Yes.
besides Talk Show. And I was not conflicted. It was just a very interesting listen because I definitely was trying to compare too much to both albums, the album that came before and the album that came after. And I don't think that's entirely fair because you should be able to just listen to an album on its own. But at the same time, it's hard not to compare it. And I will say, for the most part, all the songs grew on me a little bit. So basically, because the songs that I loved on a first listen were Church on Tuesday, Sour Girl, which that wasn't a first listen for me, but I do love Sour Girl, Glide, I Got You, and Atlanta, despite my reaction not being the exact reaction you were hoping for, which is understandable. Um, and all the other songs, except for like, I feel like Sex and Violence, I liked, but I wasn't like in love with. And all of those kind of grew on me. There was one song that kind of did the opposite, and I'm curious if you know which
Oh,
one. Which one did I like even less on a second and third listen?
I'm gonna say MC5.
No, but that's not a bad guess.
Really? Really? Okay.
No way out.
Okay. Okay. I'm not surprised necessarily. I guess MC5 because I think objectively that song it's a lot of energy, really good energy, fun, but there's maybe not as much to like
Well,
latch onto after a few listens. Where I think No Way Out there's a little bit more nuance to it, low key, maybe with the structure that might make it more interesting. The more you listen to it.
I
But
I kind of wanted to like MC5 less than I do because I agree with everything you said, but it's so short and it's a fun song. So I don't know.
especially between I Got You and Atlanta, where they're both like
Yeah,
slower songs, it
I
is nice to
think
have that.
there could have been a stronger song in between those two because as a penultimate track and the last rock track on the album, the one that like the last one that really rocks out, it would have been nice to have something that was a little bit like catchier or something that had a little bit more depth. But
I mean,
yeah, No Way Out. The reason that one didn't grow on me is because I really love the intro, and I think they do the intro again like in the middle of the song. I just don't really care. And the verses I think I like. It's just like the chorus I just really don't care about. Him just repeating motherfucker a bunch. Like I didn't really think there was too much of a melody for me to catch on to. And yeah, so that one didn't grow on me. But like the first three, Down, Heaven and Hot Rods, and Pruno. Um, well, okay, Down and Heaven and Hot Rods both grow on me. Down is still not like top, three on the album for me. And I do kind of still consider it like one of their just rock tunes that's like, I feel like even though I don't know all of their songs from their first album, I do feel like it's one of those songs where they're trying to go for the more heavier, kind of grungier song, but trying to do it a more current style STP way, if that makes sense. Because then you and I can both agree that like a lot of the bands that were labeled grunge or post grunge, kind of like an album after their debut started to kind of drift from that sound, right? Um, and I kind of feel like that they did as well. I mean, again, I have not listened to their first three albums, right?
but you
But
still know
I
at
know like the
least
singles and
six
stuff.
songs probably from that era.
And obviously I know where they went with Tiny Music, which is like, I don't think there's even a grungy song at all on Tiny Music.
No, I wouldn't say so.
So I can appreciate Down for what it's what it is. I did find it a little catchier the more I listened to it. And same with Heaven and Hot Rods. Heaven and Hot Rods, I actually really like the verse a lot. The chorus, I don't know, it doesn't grip me as much, but I love the riff and like the intro and the verse.
It's
Like it
really
is,
fun.
yeah, it's just a fun riff. I think maybe the most interesting, not the most interesting song, the song that I shouldn't like as much as I do is Pruno
Okay,
because
okay.
it's the chorus. It's almost like art school girlfriend where it's like the chorus is almost annoying, and especially the way he sings it is kind of annoying, and I shouldn't like it. And I even think when we did a reaction to it, you even were surprised I liked it then as much as I did.
I
And,
was. I thought this was gonna be one that you really didn't like. I see what you're saying though. I think those are all valid points. I will say, yeah, with like the chorus, it is like, especially after hearing Down, it's kind of similar with like kind of the yelling on it. But like I really like when he does the I got another hit that helps me the last time, like that kind of that rhythm he interjects in it. That's really fun and engaging. And yeah, I think the verse is a very unique, composition there with what they're doing.
and you know, I guess I get into it now because Pruno is kind of one of the songs that fits in this category. One of the things about the album that I was a little disappointed in, especially comparing it to the other two STP albums I know, Shangri-La Da and Tiny Music, where the lyrics I just felt like weren't as interesting. I don't think they were bad by any means, and there were definitely some songs that had really good lyrics. I think Sour Girl and Atlanta, I think, have the best lyrics. But I do like the lyrics on Glide and Church on Tuesday. But like a song like Pruno, I like that song because of like the melodies and the rhythms and the music, not so much the lyrics.
Yeah,
Same thing with like a MC5. Same thing with Down, No Way Out. And I like a song with No Way Out, that one does seem like it's more personal to him. But it just felt like he was singing about his struggles at the time in a not like, and maybe that was the point. Maybe he just wanted to like, without using metaphors or imagery, he was just singing about how he was feeling. It just didn't make it for like as like emotional or moving as something like a adhesive, where, and I know there are different types of songs, like No Way Out's like a rocker, right? But I don't know, the lyrics didn't, the lyrics on Tiny Music, I think are, I'll be interested to see if I feel like another album rivals for STP, if it rivals the lyricism on Tiny Music.
I will say this. So let's take a song more similar to No Way Out than Adhesive. Let's take Dumb Love. I do think the lyrics of Dumb Love are, 5 times better than the lyrics to No Way Out. I think with a song like No Way Out, it's more so the performance and the heaviness that is supposed to be more moving than the lyrical content. I think something that I wish was different on this album is songs like Down, Heaven and Hot Rods, Pruno, what we just said, No Way Out. It's a lot of chorus, which chorus is good because these are pretty good choruses. They're catchy, they're energetic, but it's a lot of just repeating lyrics, and they're not even lyrics that are really too telling. Like at least Pruno, you do get a lot of verses still, different bridge lyrics.
Or No Way Out's just a lot of like motherfucker.
Yeah, which I think the energy's great, and I do like how catchy that part is. The rhythm of it where it gets staccato. But yeah, I totally get you on that. I wish there was a little more to sink your teeth on.
Church on Tuesday, like it repeats the chorus a lot, which is fine because like the chorus is one of my favorite parts on that song. But
I got you would be one of the more like Sour Girl Atlanta with the lyrics, in my opinion.
And I got you. And here's the thing too about the album, it is kind of a not mixed bag. It is like it does have variety, like Tiny Music and Shangri-La Da, but in like a different way. I don't know, the structure. It's nothing that I would consider resequencing. It's just interesting because it's like the first 3 songs are just kind of like rockers,
consistent rock songs,
and then even Church on Tuesday, it's rock, but it's not as heavy, but it's still like a fun song.
It's a little groovier, which is why I like it too.
But then like Sour Girl's like the acoustic, slightly more poppier song. And then like No Way Out, I feel like is trying to be a little experimental with like the intro and stuff, which that is by far my favorite part of the song. And then not the middle of the album, but like Sex and Violence into Glide, I feel like are the 2 kind of most dynamic songs. And Sex and Violence did grow on me. My least favorite part, though, in Sex and Violence is still that chorus where the second time around they modulate the riff.
Yeah, they like go up like a whole step or something.
I don't like that. But it's not necessarily, I think I just don't like when songs in general do that too much.
I I like it on the track because I don't think they'd really do that anywhere else on the album. And the song is so fast paced. I'm okay with it. But I can see what you're saying. It does get a little maybe tiring.
Yeah. But that one did grow. I mean, that one too is like it's short enough to where if it was like twice the length, I would be annoyed by it by the end.
Right.
Um, Glide, I do really like Glide. I do think it's a song too where it's like, and this is kind of how I feel about kind of the whole album. It's like I love parts of it. I love the intro riff. I do really like his falsetto, especially now that I've gotten used to it.
Yeah, it's
I
hype.
feel like the chorus, it's lacking something for me. I don't know what, but I don't know. It's especially because that song is like the second longest on the album. I feel like it either could have been a little shorter or something about it could have changed for me to like it even more than I already do. Um, so like yeah, those two songs in the row, kind of in this section of the album, I feel like there's some of the most dynamics on the album. And then you get kind of two songs that are simpler on their in their own different ways. Like I Got You is a really cool song, and I think it sounds different enough.
I don't love calling that song simple personally,
Well,
but
okay, by simple I mean like it's definitely a different style for them. Although it does kind of remind me of like some of the areas they went on in Tiny Music, like a Daisy.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Um, but I guess I just meant like it's the they're not doing like the modulations like they did on Sex and Violence or the like outro they do on Glide, like that type of stuff.
Maybe it's not as obvious, you know.
Yeah, but I still really like I Got You. And that's actually one of the songs I like lyrically more as well. It's kind of like Atlanta in the same way, where Atlanta's not a simple song, but it's like really different for them. And there are things they add into the song that make it really stand out, like the marimba and the whistling at the end, or just the way too the song ends with the marimba, like the way they kind of layer out all the rest of the instruments.
I remember in your reaction, you're like, out of all the ways to end this song, I would not have guessed marimba.
I wouldn't have, yeah.
From the start. Yeah, thought that was funny.
And the strings in that song is nice too. And I do really like Atlanta. It's kind of a song that keeps growing me the more and more I listen to it. It's just for some reason, unlike I'm sure like a lot of other STP fans, including you, where I'm sure when you first heard it, you were just like taken back because it is a moving piece of music, and it is very different for them. But maybe just because I had heard Tiny Music before, and even some of the other softer songs on String La Di Da, I wasn't necessarily as surprised. And that's
I wanted to give you number 4 though because it's very consistent and it's a little more artsy than an album like Purple. Even though Purple, I love the production on Purple. It's one of my favorite sounding just like 90s rock records. And I think it's also a very solid album. And I will be giving you that one next because you got to hear it. But yeah, yeah.
I did enjoy the album, and I think it's one that can grow up my rankings the more I listen to it. Even the songs on the album will probably grow the more I listen to it. So, no, I did appreciate it, and I think it was one of the more interesting reactions because there was like anticipation, there were some expectations. Some of it was met, some of it wasn't, but then some of it was met when I gave it a third and fourth listen. So, let us know. Despite me knowing like maybe half or a third of core, should we still do a reaction to it? Should we still do an episode on it? Let us know if you would like that. And let us know what you think of this album, number 4. And yeah, I guess until next week, when it'll be my pick for album, that's all we have for you today. So stay tuned, and you'll be hearing from us soon. Bye bye.